Welcome back to Worse Every Day. With the Canadian federal election only days away, we thought, let's get into it. Mark Carney versus Pierre Poilievre.
And remember, we're a comedy podcast. Don't take what we say too seriously. I'm about the last guy on earth you want to take political advice from. I'm so stupid. When I was 18 years old, I voted for Stockwell Day because he showed up to a press conference on a jet ski wearing a wetsuit. Yeah. And I was like, that's my guy. That's the guy.
Oh, and how did you vote for somebody that doesn't live in your riding?
I went into the voting booth and I looked for his name and I was like, where the hell is it?
It's getting worse every day.
A year ago, everyone thought PP and his Conservative Party were going to just wipe
the asses of Donald Trump. I don't know.
A year ago, everyone was certain that the federal Conservatives were going to win in a landslide in this next election behind their glorious leader, Pierre Poilievre, also affectionately known as PP.
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 Pierre Poilievre, as Joe Rogan calls him.
And that Pierre Poilievre guy.
Is he one of Fidel Castro's sons too, or what?
No, he's not.
Let's bring in PP, get Trudeau out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here with your nice hair.
Yeah, it's so luscious. And I mean, his own party gave him the boot. And then while we were going through a leadership election for the Liberals, that's when Donald J. Trump was back in power and started off with his insane 51st state bullshit.
And it's an emergency. The fentanyl coming in. 1 pound of fentanyl was found up some old lady's ass. And in doing so, he killed PP's election chances.
Yeah, did he ever?
Isn't that crazy?
Because we saw in real time how Donald Trump treated Justin Trudeau, calling him governor. And then as soon as old Mark Carney is in power, at least temporarily, a totally different tune was being spoken.
Yeah. Donald Trump looked at him and he's like, I'm better looking than him.
Yeah, you think so?
I like him. And in doing so, he killed PP's election chances.
Yeah, did he ever?
Isn't that crazy?
The writing was kind of on the wall when you just really look at how closely PP was aligning himself to Trump.
You know what did it for me? Up to that point, I was like, yeah, he's kind of got some Maga vibes, but I can overlook it, I guess. We got to get the Liberals out of here. We need to focus on pipelines. Let's worry about Canada, blah, blah, blah. Then Danielle Smith goes down to the States and makes that comment about how PP would be more aligned with Trump.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
I never looked at PP the same after that.
Woke ideology.
We're ending woke immediately. I ended woke. Totally.
Only two genders, male and female.
I'm only aware of two, but men and women. The first thing I will do when I'm prime minister is to bring back a warrior culture.
Bring the warrior culture back to the Department of Defense.
To stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments.
A social engineering project that the NDP Liberals are trying to impose on our military.
Left-wing censorship regime.
Their woke censorship ideology. When I restore freedom of speech
and bring back free speech.
It's corrupt. You have corrupt media in this country.
We have seen an absolute meltdown by the bought and paid for media.
She's a Marxist, communist, fascist.
Ugly, authoritarian, socialist ideologies of fascism and communism.
We have a prime minister who is dedicated to a extremely radical ideology.
We stand for common sense.
Common sense.
Common sense.
It's common sense.
A common sense conservative government.
Because I have common sense, okay?
That's my common sense approach, and it's time to bring it home. Thank you.
At PP's rallies, they've had their attendants actually asking people to take off their Maga merch before they go into the rally because they know how bad of a look it is right now. The average Canadian seems to really resent what Donald Trump is doing to us.
It's not a good look that you have to tell people to take off their Maga merch in the first place. That's like telling some guy cheating on his wife, make sure you delete your dating apps before you go home. Like, it doesn't change who you are. I never thought I'd be reading comments on YouTube videos. I'm 70 years old. I voted conservative every election of my life except now.
Yeah. Crazy, hey? And so Mark Carney, he won by a really large margin. So I think people are really excited about him and his background, although I don't quite understand why so many people on the right are so angry about how he's this banker and this globalist. Like, that's such a bad thing.
Why would we need a guy good with money running our country during an economic crisis?
Yeah, exactly. Worked for Harper, was the governor of the Bank of Canada, I believe. He was at the Bank of England.
The UK brought him in as like James Bond to come and help with Brexit.
Yes. Some of my own family, they're posting on Facebook and they're like, look at this evil globalist. He's so evil. He's in with like the World Economic Forum and such a bad guy. And it's funny because we had a thought the other night. We've been binging on all this like World War II documentaries and like learning about the Great Depression and everything that happened back
since
in 32.
Trump's so eager to bring us back to those times, we're like, we should probably learn about
yes, exactly.
that a little bit.
Yeah. And we had this light bulb moment when we're like, wow, there hasn't been a world war in 100 years. What has changed? Globalism, this huge global economy with all of this trade.
I don't know, though. I say we close off our borders, we stop trading with other countries, and we go back to medieval times where if you needed anything, you just went and raped and pillaged the village down the road.
Well, sadly, who knows what's to come. Maybe that's in our near future.
All right. Looking forward to it.
But I think something that will like really help us understand Mark Carney might be hearing about him from the perspective of the other side. I found this Rebel News video clip that I think might be a great introduction to who Mark Carney is.
One complaint I have about him is I wish he had more slogans.
Oh, yeah. He's lacking slogans.
Yeah, he's getting his ass kicked in that area.
Well, the fix is in. Canada's next prime minister was just anointed behind closed doors in a questionable race.
Behind
Trudeau's
closed
usefulness
doors?
has run its course. He's just not
Love that
cute
Canadian
anymore.
accent.
So the elites have moved on, and they've chosen their new golden boy, Mark Carney. Because while the mainstream press is polishing off their puff pieces, we're doing what they refuse to. Exposing the real Mark Carney. And trust me, there's a lot to expose. This isn't just some mild-mannered banker turned politician. Carney was the man whispering in Trudeau's ear for the last 5 years. All those things the Liberals did to us, that was him. From lockdowns to tax hikes to overspending to even electric vehicle mandates. Carney is Trudeau 2.0, but more dangerous. He's the hand-picked globalist successor to Trudeau. A man whose loyalties don't lie with Canada, but with the unelected power brokers who pull the strings from Davos at the World Economic Forum and at the UN. And let's not forget his cozy connections to some very unsavory characters like Ghislaine Maxwell. She ring a bell? Oh yeah, Carney's got tangential ties to her.
So they're trying to claim that's Ghislaine Maxwell? How do you say her name?
I don't know.
Ghislaine?
Who is she again?
That's Jeffrey Epstein's partner that was helping recruit.
They're trying to say the lady in that picture is her?
I think so. And then just wait till you see the next picture.
The one, the
dark-haired one.
Oh, I was looking at the meth head. And I'm like, what?
The very same woman who helped Jeffrey Epstein run one of the most disgusting criminal operations in modern history. But good luck hearing that on the CBC or the CTV. They won't touch it.
That's because it's been determined that it most likely is AI, these photo evidence.
But it's just the back of a head anyways. Even if it was her, that wouldn't even stand up in court.
Yeah. So this photo was floating around. And of course, who else does it feature? Tom Hanks. Yeah. That does not look like all three of them were sitting together on Epstein Island.
People are so easily fooled nowadays.
Exactly. And Rebel News, all they have to do is show a different photo that's even more questionable because all you see is the back of some chick's head that had a similar haircut.
I could easily select Tom Hanks, generative refill, put like a fat seal there.
Yeah.
Be like, look at Carney. He hangs out with seals. They're just the fat slobs of the ocean. She lost me at her overly fake filled lips. I can't even look at her and take her seriously.
Yeah.
His manifesto, values, a book that reads less like a personal philosophy and more like an instruction manual for a globalist coup. In it,
seen building a better world for all.
It's a globalist coup. Okay.
Carney lays out his plan for a so-called moral economy, where unelected bureaucrats, not free markets, dictate how you live, how you work, and how much you pay for basic necessities. It's like a carbon tax fever dream wrapped in Orwellian doublespeak. But wait, there's more.
Right,
Carney's got his own conflicts of interest,
which
which probably make him the perfect successor to Trudeau. Carney was vice chair at Brookfield, a global investment giant that made a fortune off green energy subsidies while conveniently opposing pipelines here in Canada. And then there's Carney telling Canadians that oil and gas was a dead industry, advocating against pipelines here in Canada, but Brookfield was also simultaneously busy funding pipelines in the Middle East.
Support the Prime Minister's decision to veto the Northern Gateway pipeline, Mr. Carney.
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
Do you support it?
Given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it is sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
This is one problem I do have with Mark as an Albertan, and he himself was raised in Edmonton. He is, I don't want to say the word anti-pipeline, but maybe he is anti-pipeline. He's clearly stated he's not interested in investing more in pipelines, and I think that's a huge shame. And when you talk about our relationship with the U.S., Canada is the largest supplier of oil and gas to the U.S. Yeah. And you want to talk about the U.S. subsidizing Canada, Alberta subsidizes the U.S. with cheap, affordable, ethical oil and gas. And thank God we finally have one pipeline to the coast that is starting to sell to China, but it's not enough. And we do need more pipeline infrastructure in this country.
Yeah, send it all to China. I don't care. Mm-hmm. They can buy all they want. I'll never go there. Mm-hmm. I'll end up executed. But they can buy our oil for sure.
Yeah, that would be great. But do you want to know something that's funny? Guess who owns stock in Brookfield?
Pierre Poilievre.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, he must, or at least his stockbroker must have thought they were making some pretty smart financial decisions.
I bet he bought the stock right after his little interview.
Yeah.
Of Carney.
Yeah, of course.
Gets off the phone. He's like, man, that guy seems really smart. I should invest in something that he's involved in. Yeah. One of the biggest problems I have with being Canadian sometimes is how cheesy everything we do is. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why. You got to play that Mike Myers Carney thing. It's so cringy.
Let's go. Mr. Prime Minister, Mike Myers, what are you doing here? I just thought I'd come up and check on things.
You live in the States?
Yeah, but I'll always be Canadian.
But you live in the States?
So scripted.
Yeah, so? Do you remember Mr. Dressup, the children's show on CBC?
Mm-hmm. What were the names of Mr. Dressup's two puppet friends?
Casey and Finnegan,
Bud,
Spud,
Howie,
Meeker,
Capital Saskatchewan,
Regina,
tragically,
Pip.
You're a defenseman defending a 2-on-1. What do?
Take away the pass, obviously.
What are the two seasons in Toronto?
Winter and construction.
Wow. You really are Canadian.
Yeah. But let me ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right. Elbows up.
Elbows up.
No.
I'm not loving the elbows up thing.
Know.
It's so cheesy.
I know.
We're just perpetuating the stereotype that Canadians, all we have is hockey and we live in igloos. That was like the cheesiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I was cringing inside. And I love Mike Myers, and I'm so grateful that he's like one of the very few famous Canadian celebrities actually standing up for Canada.
But we learned this doesn't work.
No.
Kamala Harris had Beyonce and everyone coming out, and people are like, fuck you. Like, celebrity ads are pointless.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. Actually, I might vote PP now.
Just
because of that.
Oh, no.
I really don't like cheesy shit like that.
Yeah. But all I could think watching it is, why didn't you guys just try a few more takes? Like, doesn't it feel like they're like, okay, we got Mr. Myers here. You have 10 minutes flat, like no redos. We just got to nail this on the first try. And it just sounded so scripted.
They didn't even use L and J cuts.
Yeah.
It's an editing term. But yeah, that was really, really bad. Like really bad.
Yeah.
I used to like Mike Myers. Now
Still
I'm
like
not so
Mike.
sure.
It's not true.
Just kidding. I like Mike. But Carney, I don't know, fucking banker. I expect my politicians to be better actors.
Oh, okay.
Politics should be showmanship. We learned that from Trump.
I was going to say, Donald Trump's the best at that.
Yeah.
Okay, that reminds me of one more thing I want to show you, because maybe he's not the best actor, but you can't take away that Mark Carney is a clever guy. Look at this.
Oh, he's obviously a smart guy.
So it's okay. We'll get to the World Economic Forum in a moment, guys. Guy, just getting my. Sorry, just waiting, listening for the orders coming. Oh no. Some things never change. You got to move on. Move on. We got to move on as a nation.
See, that's the version of Carney that should have been in the Mike Myers.
Yes, exactly.
Instead, he's all stiff.
Yeah.
Watching some kids play hockey, going, "Come on,
Yeah.
come on, Mike Myers." Yeah. Oh, that's pretty witty.
Yeah.
And he's got
Smart
a pack
guy.
of Marlboro cigarettes right
Oh.
there. What a cool guy. He's just spinning them on that railing. Should have lit one.
Yeah, that would have upped his cool factor.
Yeah.
That all this like woke talk would come to an end.
We got to get rid of woke ideologies, people.
Yeah.
No more woke.
Yeah. Well, that's the perfect segue into talking about Pierre Poilievre. And I think that nobody captured the essence of how spectacular his downfall has been the last few months better than Jordan Peterson on the Joe Rogan Experience a day ago.
Yeah, that was good.
Well, Carney's a good example of this in Canada, to return to that.
Yeah.
You know,
Is he going to win? It seems like he's
the polls
favorite.
certainly indicate that,
Yeah.
and maybe with the
must
majority
hurt.
government. And I can see why.
Oh,
Canadians were accustomed to having everything go pretty well, and we could be morally superior to you Americans because that was also fun. And we'll never forego that opportunity. And Trump has
Absolutely.
provided
He's
it
right
in
about
spades
that.
in the last month. So we look at Carney, and we don't pay any attention to politics, and we certainly don't read his goddamn book. And so we see someone who looks like a banker from the 1990s when everything was just fine in Canada and Canadians were just as rich as Americans and the whole country was stable and peaceful. And we think, well, you know, we kind of made a mistake on Justin. Turned out he was a little incompetent, a little narcissistic. And maybe we shouldn't have voted for him just because he legalized marijuana, because that's actually what brought him into power the first time. And so we kind of made a mistake. But now, look, we've learned, and we're not going to be fooled by narcissistic pretenders. And Mark Carney used to be Governor of Bank of England, you know, and that's pretty good. That's a pretty good resume, and
I'd say so.
it certainly looks like that. And yet, he believes that 75% of the fossil fuels in the world should be left in the ground, and that there's nothing that should guide your purchasing decision by force other than decarbonization.
But it seemed to me, at least from an observer from afar, that Pierre was gaining steam, and it looked like he was going to win.
Oh,
and they seem to have taken the wind right out of his sails.
Well, two things happened. Trudeau resigned. Oh, yeah, the Liberals were headed for extinction. It was going to be the worst defeat of a governing party in Canada ever. They might have lost their official party status. So it was, they were done. Brought in Carney, who'd been advising Trudeau. He's put himself up as an outsider, a competent outsider, a lot of private experience in the private domain, you know, a steady hand at the helm. It's like, you were Trudeau's economic advisor for 10 years. No. All you have to do is read his book, which people don't, of course, because it's a book. You know, first 3 chapters will do the trick. Well, now, either he's decided that every single thing he ever believed was wrong right to the core and hasn't apologized or let anyone know that, and now he's actually Mr. Industry, which is how he's presenting himself to Canadians, or he believes what he's always believed.
Or he's a wolf wearing grandma's dress.
Yeah, he's a benevolent wolf. Well, that's why the wolf wears grandma's dress, isn't it? It's like, there's no one nicer than me. Poilievre said he'd defund the CBC. So you can imagine they're not exactly covering him in a positive way.
I watched the debate where he kept getting talked over.
Checkmate.
Yeah.
Jagmeet Singh.
Fascinating.
He's
to
such
watch.
fun with his pink turban.
Yeah.
He's such a fashion icon. Luckily, he's going to lose his own seat, and his party's going to be devastated. That's the socialists. They're going to be devastated so badly that they won't have official party status.
And he's full of hate.
But it's incredible.
I just learned this thanks to one of our followers that commented on the last video. He's from farther up north than we are right now. Like, do you not detect that he is so faking, like he has an English accent?
It's like his throat has been squished down to the size of a straw, and he has to really force the air out, and it's just really hard for him to get the words out.
There's a lot of mopping up to do in Canada. Well, in the country. And you know, the man who started the Reform Party, he wrote an article in the Globe and Mail, which was it's the Canadian Liberal establishment newspaper, saying that Manitoba, Alberta, and Saskatchewan should have an immediate constitutional convention immediately on Carney's ascension to the throne.
They can't learn their goddamn lesson, can they? As soon as Carney wins and has a majority government, they're all going to be, it's time to separate.
The whole like MAGA right-wing playbook that they're all trying to use. It only works as long as this small fringe minority of crazy people are the loudest ones in the room.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the rest of the country wakes up, it gets stomped out.
Yeah.
And they're all mad that they picked the wrong playbook.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
So now it's on to what's our next little scheme? We're going to become a 51st state, or we're going to become independent. And how's that going to work? You think BC wants to join? You think BC wants to leave Canada?
BC will be like Canada's Alaska.
Yeah.
Just way off on their own with their beautiful mountains.
An ocean.
We want to be represented in the House of Commons as separatists.
Oof.
Yeah, so the country's in...
Joe doesn't even know how to read.
It's very sad.
He's just like,
and I was hoping...
They could be the 51st state.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. So two things.
Yes.
We're back.
Whoa! Have you ever seen Joe do a Trump impression before?
No. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And then Trump. He just timed it so badly. And he didn't know. He didn't know.
Oh.
He didn't know, but he's still saying that shit today.
Yeah.
Didn't know.
He didn't get the memo.
Yeah.
Trump's like, I got the memo.
Yeah.
I fucked up, but I doubled down. That's the way I do it. I make it look like it was my plan all along.
I'm trying to distract from how badly the China negotiations are going. So I'm back to Canada should be a 51st state.
He didn't know. But that's also...
How do you not know that people have national pride?
Yeah, he knew that, but he didn't know what the electoral consequences would be. He didn't know that would shift them to the Liberals so radically. And he's going to pay for that, because once Carney is elected, if that happens, Trump will not have a more seasoned enemy in the West.
Okay, so is this, are we criticizing
Yes, I was
Carney,
going to say, it sounds like an endorsement to me.
Like, isn't that what we want? I don't trust polls.
True.
I have a theory that when polls come out highly in favor of a particular candidate, everybody goes, oh, God, okay. Thank God. Pressure's off. And they are less likely to go out and vote. I think if you're worried your guy's going to lose, it gets you out voting more. So I don't like the fact that everybody's saying
assuming
it's
the
a
polls
landslide.
Are right. I can tell you where every vote does count. Pierre Poilievre's district. He's neck and neck with the Liberal there. So
crazy.
He's not even guaranteed to win his own seat.
Slogans. They don't always work.
All right, should we just get into this with PP? Obviously, the MAGA associations is the biggest problem I have with him. His sketchy past history, like voting against gay marriage, although apparently his stepfather is gay. His big rally against wokeism, but won't declare what the hell that means. Even taking into consideration, the guy's talked about how he has a disabled daughter. So it's like, well, what does wokeism mean to you? Take away programs that would help her?
Everyone, as soon as you say woke, people start picturing men in women's bathrooms or
Yes.
men in women's sports, but to me,
Distractions.
is it woke to have like safe injection sites
No.
or homeless shelters?
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to work as a meter reader years ago, and I'd have to go into some pretty like sketchy neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah.
And I was stepping over needles all day long. And as soon as Edmonton opened up safe injection sites, like that shit cleaned right up. So do we really want to be canceling programs like that and just have people shooting up in like kids' playgrounds? And
I mean, it still happens, and the drug crisis is worse now than it's ever been. So
Yeah.
thank God you don't do that as a job anymore.
But I just mean, do we really want to start slashing all
Yeah.
these things and just go back to our streets looking like landfills again?
Yeah. And I mean, it's so obvious a lot of this is climate change related. Like there's talk that he can't wait to have his own little Doge of the North, and he can cut funding on anything that he declares woke. Climate change research, anything related to gender identity, anything, he's hasn't hidden his alignment to not wanting to continue down Canada's road of reconciliation with our Indigenous people. He's against that. Take a dart on the dartboard of all things that could possibly be woke, and who friggin' knows what we're going to actually get with this guy.
Well, that's the thing. Like, what the hell is woke? Because I just saw him talking about plastic bread and straws and like trying to say that we're not going to, like, our bread's not going to be covered anymore.
I saw that too.
We're just going to go to the grocery store. It's just going to be dried out
stale.
loaves of bread sitting out in the open.
Yeah.
Flies on them and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's when people start losing me in politics, because there's issues and then there's you're just trying to stir people up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
Another big problem I have with PP is this defund the CBC. Like, I couldn't disagree more about just cutting CBC out of our lives. People that don't understand what it's like growing up in Canada, and all of your entertainment, majority of your news is from the US. The CBC has played a very important role in our culture, in our upbringing, of like just helping give us like a sense of unity and a sense of identity. They have just as strong journalistic standards as any of these other papers that are owned by huge right-wing conglomerates.
When I was a kid, I hated the CBC.
Did you?
Not because of their news content, but just like Canadian produced TV shows really seem to suck.
The comedy, definitely.
Oh, it's horrible stuff.
No, I know. I think we have to do a whole full video on the CBC, because I think there's lots of like positive things to say, but also
then,
so much where they could improve.
There's like the odd hit every once in a while. I'm not going to say it's all bad. But the Red Green show back in the day.
Yeah, This Hour is 22 Minutes. The National's a great program. David Suzuki, The Nature of Things. I think that was CBC.
Yeah.
Again, you want to talk about the Trumpian characteristics of PP. He is very anti-media. Like, he is very restrictive in who he wants to talk to. He's very combative. Can we not live in a world where people forget like that the media is an important arm of our democracy? It's supposed to be our watchdog. Like,
I'm pretty sure we learned that in grade 5.
Yeah.
That free press, freedom of the press is like an important part of functioning democracy.
Absolutely. And then that leads to him not wanting to get his security clearance either.
Yeah, that's really weird. That's weird.
It's sketchy.
Yeah, it's a red flag.
CTV News has confirmed that India attempted to interfere in the 2022 Conservative leadership contest, which Poilievre won. There's no indication the meddling affected the outcome of the race.
I won the leadership fair and square.
Ossisis didn't share the information with Poilievre because he refused to get the necessary security clearances to receive classified briefings on foreign interference in Canada. Poilievre defended his decision to not take briefings, saying it would hamper his abilities to hold the government to account.
So they bring me into a dark room and they'll say, we're going to give you a little bit of breadcrumbs of intel, and then we'll tell you can't talk about any of this stuff anymore.
Why would you suddenly not be allowed to talk about certain things?
So say, what if he's being told that freedom convoy that's being planned next month, we have evidence that there's like Russian money backing this thing. He's being given that privileged piece of information. And if he still goes and campaigns at that trucker rally, he's doing it knowing the backgrounds that there's bad people funding and supporting that event.
That's like if you asked me to see my criminal record and I was like, well, I can't show you my criminal record because then I won't be allowed within 600 meters of a school anymore. Yeah. I'd prefer to keep that private. Thank you.
And on the down low.
I'd like to be able to keep picking my kids up.
I do like that he has, you know, some language in his platform about being harder on criminals. I think the Canadian justice system's a bit of a joke.
Yeah, I'm all for being harder on criminals, but what does he mean by that? That's such a vague statement.
Yeah.
And considering this guy models himself off Trump, what's he going to start denying people due process and shipping people out of the country? Like, not saying that that's what he's going to do, but I want to support that because I actually believe there are some crimes in this country that should have steeper penalties, but
especially sexual assault, battery.
I don't like when politicians reveal their ideas or their platforms and it's all these vague things. I prefer details.
Yeah. And how about this? Early voting has already started in Canada and the Conservative Party just finally shared their platform.
And I haven't even looked at it because I don't vote by platform. I vote with my gut like I did with Stockwell Day back in the day. I just look at them and I'm like, that's the guy.
That's the guy.
I just get a vibe.
Okay, so when we have Carney and PP, what's the vibe?
My vibe is that Carney seems like a straight shooter. He seems like an intellectual, highly experienced, organized guy. That's the vibe I get. And he seems trustworthy because every time you ask him a question, he isn't sitting there going, how can I spin this? He just answers it.
Yeah.
Whereas with PP, he kind of gives me a little bit of a sleazy car salesman kind of vibe. He's just going to say whatever he has to say to get the vote. Yeah. And then once he has the vote, oh, by the way, there's all these hidden fees and extra add-ons that I didn't tell you about. But
And I mean, there's the language he's been using for the last few years leading up to this moment that are all coming back to bite him in the ass.
And that's the problem. I fucking hate Maga. Fucking idiots. I hate them. I fucking hate them. I can't stress that enough. And just knowing that PP has...
That's his base.
Yeah, that's the people who support this guy. And he's even had people in his own party that wear the hats. Man, that really bothers me.
Yeah.
It just bothers me. I think MAGA needs to be stomped out.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
It's a fucking disease. It's spreading across the planet. The dumbest people are latching onto it. And of course, these are the loudest people.
Yes.
So it just needs to be eliminated.
Yeah.
I would gladly vote for Carney just because of that.
One thing that I do not like about the Canadian political system is that we don't have that opportunity to vote for our prime minister. We don't have these presidential elections. We can only vote for our party. And you know what? The Conservative that's running in our area, I know him personally. He's a good person with integrity. I worked with him in my past corporate life, and if he was the leader of the Conservative Party, they'd be in great hands, honestly. So shame on you, Conservatives. Go back to actually like the old ways of the old Conservatives that actually had values and they weren't just always trying to speak to this certain segment of the population that the Conservative Party has so in their pocket right now.
I don't like slogans. They don't work for me.
You don't want a verb with a noun?
I don't watch a Nike ad and think, I don't need a Nike. And then I hear, just do it. And then I go, oh, now I do. Like, slogans don't work.
Yeah.
Why does everyone think they need a slogan? It's just cheesy.
Yeah.
Boots, not suits. And he's wearing a suit when he says it. Like, okay.
Yeah. The writing seems to be on the wall. And I'm sure Pierre can't help but smell it because the new...
he can smell it.
the new Conservative ads just came out, and you're going to notice something surprisingly absent from them.
But as we approach Election Day, the Conservatives are also running 2 new ads, neither of which feature Pierre Poilievre.
Do you really think that a 4th Liberal term is going to change anything?
You know, I've been thinking the same thing.
Are we really going to give these clowns a 4th term? I'm voting Conservative.
The 2 men running to lead us both once worked for me.
And my choice, unequivocally, is Pierre Poilievre.
Okay, so first of all, we have to come back to that face.
That was cringy as well.
Yes.
This is what I was talking about earlier. It's like anything produced in Canada just sucks.
Oh my God. So no PP. They obviously have decided they had a focus group and they're like, we need some just regular Joes out golfing.
Let's put Harper back.
Yes, and then bring back Lord Harper. Somebody try to convince me that man's not wearing lipstick right now. He is 100% wearing lipstick. Like a frightening amount.
Yeah, that does look like lipstick.
Oh, Steven, like, are you wearing a full face of makeup and you still look that bad? Look at those shiny, puckered lips. Oh, Steven.
He does look tired.
He does. He's very upset to see where his political party, the Conservatives, are today.
Well, the funny thing is that he's a conservative. He'll always be a conservative.
Mhm.
So, of course, he's going to endorse the guy that stayed with the party.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people say about Mark Carney is that he's actually he's a centrist. Look at the difference between somebody who's just been in politics and he's just been working on slogans his entire career versus somebody that's actually out there and like working an experience with governments trying to like deal with a financial crisis. Who do we trust more right now?
Who do I respect more
Yeah.
as a person?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't look at a career politician and be like, man, what a life well lived.
Yeah.
You spent your entire life just trying to find ways to keep yourself in the spotlight. And you'll say anything you can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Carney knows how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
He probably is a narcissist in some ways
For
too.
sure. Who wants that job unless you think you're something special? But I
Yeah.
don't think he's any more of a narcissist than PP.
Or Harper or
Mhm.
anybody.
Exactly.
You almost have to be a narcissist
To want
to
that
even be
job.
motivated
Yeah.
to have leadership jobs in the first place.
Mhm. Don't get your political advice from us. That's all I have to say.
Do your research.
Yeah. We just wanted to talk about it. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what happens, or scary, or sad.
Vote with your gut. Don't even look at the platforms.
Yeah, exactly. Just pick your side
Just
and don't
look
stray.
at them and just get a vibe
Mhm.
and go with it.
Mhm.
That's democracy.
At its best.
Yeah.
I found this political cartoon. Somebody on one of these FJT accounts was posting it, and I guess they're trying to make the theory that Mark Carney is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
And so I guess we're the sheep. We're the little sheep that look very content and
Yeah, we do.
and they look very safe.
Mm-hmm.
And Pierre Poilievre, the man that's going to save the day,
Oh.
is the dumpy, fat, domesticated, sad house dog wearing a Trump tie.
Yeah. Why
Like,
the Trump
that's-
tie? Again.
It's a very confusing
Mhm.
cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, one is a cunning wolf
Yeah.
in disguise.
Yes.
And the other one is just a fat, lazy dog.
That has to stand on a rock in order
I-
to feel important.
So I guess we're the sheep
Oh,
in this cartoon.
I guess so. We're the sheeple.
Consider me a sheep. I mean, Carney's probably going to eat us later,
Oh.
but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.